Before we begin, let me say something very simple. I am not here to represent any government or organization. I am here for public health and for the people I care about, including you watching this video right now. I understand why many people are sensitive to topics related to disease outbreaks, especially after what we have been through. But I want you to know that I do not stand with the government. I do not represent WHO or CDC. I stand with public health. And more specifically with you, the person watching this video. Today's video is not meant to scare you, but to help you truly understand Nipah virus, how it actually spreads, and what really matters to protect yourself. Coming back to the story about Nipah virus. Nipah does not spread easily like COVID. That is the good news. But the bad news is when it attacks fast and brutally. From the time you start running a fever to the time you have seizures and go into a coma, it only takes 5 to 7 days. And here's what worries me most as a physician caring for cardiovascular health and community wellness. Right now, there is no specific treatment, no licensed vaccine, and if you live in Southeast Asia or South Asia, the bats carrying this virus are flying right over your head every night. But before you start panicking, I need you to understand one important thing. Knowing how this virus spreads will help you avoid it almost completely. Let me show you how. If this is your first time on my channel, I am Dr. Saul Whitman, Chief Medical Officer at Northern Institute for Society Wellness. With over 30 years treating thousands of patients with cardiovascular disease, atherosclerosis, stroke, and high blood pressure. My channel shares medical knowledge for older adults so you can live confidently as you age. And now let us get into the video. What is Nipah and why is it so dangerous? Before talking about prevention, I want us to understand this virus first. Nipah virus was first discovered in 1999 in Malaysia when there was an outbreak among pig farmers. Over 300 people got infected and over 100 of them died. That is a mortality rate of about 33%. Already sounds scary, right? But subsequent outbreaks in Bangladesh and India showed even higher mortality rates, from 40 to 75%, depending on early detection and medical care in each region. To put it in perspective, if 10 people get infected with Nipah, 7 of them may not survive. This is one of the viruses with the highest mortality rates that we know of. According to research from the National Institute of Virology in Pune, India, one of the things that makes Nipah so dangerous is how quickly it progresses. You can feel healthy today, then start having fever and headache like the common flu, but within just 5 to 7 days, your brain can swell. You can have seizures and fall into a coma within 24 to 48 hours. That is why early recognition and seeking medical care immediately is extremely important. Why does Nipah keep coming back? Now, you might be wondering, if Nipah is so dangerous, why do we not hear about it as much as COVID or the flu? The answer lies in where this virus lives and how it spreads to humans. Nipah virus naturally originates from fruit bats, also known as flying foxes, belonging to the genus Pteropus. These bats fly throughout South Asia and Southeast Asia, from India, Bangladesh, to Malaysia, Philippines, even all the way down to Australia. They fly at night, eat fruit, and drink tree sap, and in the process, they shed the virus through their saliva, urine, and feces. Think of bats like living cargo planes, flying from tree to tree, leaving virus everywhere they stop. And here is the key point. Most Nipah outbreaks happen seasonally. In India and Bangladesh, the virus usually appears from December to May, coinciding with the date palm sap harvesting season. Local people collect fresh sap from date palm trees to drink or make sugar, but at night, bats also drink this sap and leave virus in it. If someone drinks fresh sap that has not been boiled, they can get infected. That is how the virus jumps from bats to humans, and we call that a spillover event, like when water overflows from one container to another. How does Nipah spread and why does this matter? This is the part you really need to pay attention to because understanding how Nipah spreads will help you avoid it. There are 3 main ways Nipah can spread to you. First way, from bats or infected animals directly. This means contact with bats, sick pigs, or anything contaminated by their saliva, urine, or feces. Second way, from contaminated food or drinks. This is the most common way in Bangladesh and India, especially drinking fresh date palm sap or eating fruit that bats have bitten. Think about it this way. You would not drink from a water bottle that someone spat in, right? But when bats drink tree sap, they are basically doing the same thing. Third way, and this is what worries healthcare workers the most, from person to person through close contact with bodily fluids of infected people. Let me tell you the story about two nurses in West Bengal, India, who got infected in January 2026. They cared for a patient infected with Nipah without knowing it was Nipah, and through close contact during care, they also got infected. But the good news is, Nipah cannot infect you just by standing in the same room with an infected person like COVID. You need close, direct contact with bodily fluids like saliva, blood, or urine. That is why Nipah does not cause a global pandemic like COVID, because it does not spread that easily. Symptoms you need to know, and when to worry. Now let us talk about symptoms, because recognizing them early can save your life. The incubation period for Nipah, that is the time from when you get infected until you start feeling sick, usually ranges from 4 to 14 days, although in some rare cases it can last up to 45 days. Initial symptoms look like the flu, fever, headache, muscle pain, nausea, and sore throat. This is why Nipah is very hard to detect early, because everyone thinks they just have the common flu. But then things can get bad quickly. You may start feeling dizzy, drowsy, confused. These are signs your brain is swelling. Doctors call that encephalitis. About 2/3 of people infected with Nipah will progress to this stage, and if that happens, you can have seizures and fall into a coma within 24 to 48 hours. Some people can also develop pneumonia and severe breathing difficulty. Think of Nipah like a storm. It starts like a light rain, flu-like symptoms, but then it quickly turns into a major storm attacking your brain and lungs. That is why, if you live or travel to areas where Nipah exists, like Bangladesh, India, or other places in Southeast Asia, and you start having flu-like symptoms after exposure to bats, pigs, or sick people, you need to get to the hospital immediately. Do not wait to see if you feel better, because with Nipah, time is everything. Treatment and reality you need to know. This is the tough part, and I will be honest with you, like I always am. Right now, there is no specific treatment or licensed vaccine for Nipah. If you get infected, the only thing doctors can do is provide intensive supportive care, which means helping your body fight the virus by supporting breathing if your lungs are struggling, controlling seizures if your brain is swelling, and keeping you hydrated and stable while your immune system tries to fight off the virus. According to research from Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health and ICDDR-B in Bangladesh, patients who are brought to the hospital early and receive intensive care have much better survival chances than those who wait. That is the difference between life and death. But there is also good news. Scientists are working on a vaccine and some antiviral drugs that may work against Nipah. There was a study from Oxford University that showed an experimental vaccine was safe and produced good immune response in volunteers, but it is still in the testing phase and not yet available to the public. So until we have a vaccine or medication, the best way to deal with Nipah is to avoid getting infected in the first place. What really matters and what you need to do. Now that we have talked about all the scary stuff, let us talk about what really matters, how to protect yourself. There are 4 main things you need to remember. First thing, understand the transmission chain correctly. Nipah does not float in the air. It needs direct contact. If you do not have contact with bats, sick pigs, contaminated food, or sick people, your chance of getting Nipah is almost 0. Second thing, do not panic. Nipah is rare. Since 1999, only a few hundred cases have been reported worldwide. Unless you live in or travel to specific areas in India, Bangladesh, or Southeast Asia during Nipah season, your risk is extremely low. Third thing, do not be complacent. If you live or travel to these areas, take practical preventive measures. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Avoid contact with bats or sick pigs. Avoid areas where bats roost. Do not eat fruit that shows signs of being bitten by bats. And never drink fresh date palm sap that has not been boiled. If you want to drink date palm sap, make sure it has been boiled first, because heat will kill the virus. Fourth thing, and this is extremely important for healthcare workers and caregivers, if you are caring for someone suspected of Nipah infection, use personal protective equipment, gloves, masks, goggles, and gowns. This is how 2 nurses in India got infected. They did not know the patient had Nipah and did not use full protective measures. Do not let that happen to you or your loved ones. I want to end by repeating what I said at the beginning of the video. Medical knowledge should not be used to sow fear, but to help people make the right decisions. If you understand Nipah, understand how it spreads, know the symptoms, and know how to protect yourself, you do not need to panic. But if you do not understand, you might miss the critical moment to seek care or accidentally put yourself in danger. I made this video not to convince you to believe anyone, not to scare you, but so you understand and can protect yourself and your family. Because in the end, that is the only thing that matters. If you found this video helpful, share it with your loved ones so they also know how to avoid Nipah and protect themselves during outbreak season. And please like my video so it gets recommended to more people, because knowledge like this needs to spread, not fear. Subscribe so we can meet again in the next health tips for older adults. And leave me a comment to let me know what you think, if you have any questions, or what topics you would like me to cover in the next video. Thank you for watching, and stay healthy. I am Dr. Saul Whitman, and I will see you in the next video.